Hi, this is Christian, and welcome to NFL Updates Express, your weekly dose of NFL news. Coming your way, NFL Draft 2013 recap. This year's first overall pick belonged to the Kansas City Chiefs, and after months of speculation with Geno Smith and Luke Joeckel, the past few days leading up to the draft came with a new name. That was offensive tackle Eric Fisher from Central Michigan. He ended up being the first overall pick in this year's NFL Draft. Congrats to Eric Fisher. We already know Eric Fisher was selected number 1 overall to the Kansas City Chiefs. Jacksonville was now on the clock. They had many options, including a quarterback, but they chose offensive tackle Luke Joeckel from Texas A&M. Next was a big trade between the Oakland Raiders and the Miami Dolphins, and with the pick they chose defensive end Dion Jordan from Oregon. The Eagles were next, and they chose offensive tackle Lane Johnson. Motown was next, and Detroit picked defensive end Ziggy Ansah. The Browns chose Barkevious Mingo, a defensive end. The offensive tackle-needy Cardinals chose Jonathan Cooper, an offensive guard from North Carolina. Another trade was the Bills and Rams. With the pick, the Rams chose wide receiver Tavon Austin. Cornerback D. Milner was selected next to the Jets. Rounding out the top 10 was Chance Warmack, offensive guard from Alabama, who went to the Tennessee Titans. The 11th pick belonged to the Superchargers. They selected DJ Fluker from Alabama. The 12th pick now belonged to the Oakland Raiders, and they picked DJ Hayden, a cornerback who had a heartwarming story that you can read about. Defensive tackle Sheldon Richardson was selected to the Jets at number 13. The Cardiac Cats needed a defensive tackle at number 14, and they got a star with Star Lotulelei. Safety Kenny Vaccaro is now a member of the New Orleans Saints at pick 15. The 16th pick belonged to the Bills after a trade, and the Bills shook up the NFL by selecting quarterback E.J. Manuel from Florida State, who was the first quarterback taken in the 2013 NFL Draft. Bye-bye, Kevin Kolb. Linebacker Jarvis Jones from Georgia is now a member of the Steel Curtain. And for the 18th pick was a trade between the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. With this selection came Eric Reed, a safety from LSU. The 19th overall pick belonged to Big Blue, the New York Football Giants. They selected offensive tackle Justin Pugh from Syracuse. Rounding out the top 20 came the Monsters of the Midway, the Bears. Their selection was Kyle Long, an offensive tackle to help protect quarterback Jay Cutler. The 21st pick started out with a bang with Notre Dame tight end Tyler Eifert headed to Cincinnati. The 22nd pick belonged to the Dirty Birds, and Atlanta traded up with the St. Louis Rams to get cornerback Desmond Trufant from Washington. The Vikings at number 23 got an absolute steal with the selection of defensive tackle Sharif Floyd. Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts were next, and once a top 5 prospect, defensive end Bjorn Warner fell all the way to pick 24. The Colts needed a cornerback but didn't take one, which made Minnesota very happy. The selection was FSU cornerback Xavier Rhodes. At pick 26, the Green Bay Packers wanted a great defensive end opposite Clay Matthews, and they got one in Dayton Jones. The Texans decided to pick up a solid player, and they needed someone opposite wide receiver Andre Johnson, and the Clemson product wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins will make Houston's offense a powerhouse. That is, if quarterback Matt Schaub can step up in 2013. Denver needed to improve their defensive line after the loss of defensive end Elvis Dumervil to the Ravens. Well, the Broncos did improve by the addition of defensive tackle Sylvester Williams from UNC. The Vikings perhaps made the biggest splash in the first round of the draft this year, and they weren't done yet. The Vikings already added Greg Jennings in free agency, but they still needed another wide receiver, and after a trade with New England, Tennessee wide receiver Cordell Patterson will put the Bears, Lions, and Packers defense on alert in 2013 and beyond. Linebacker Alec Ogletree fell in the draft due to some personal issues, but one team decided to take a chance on him. That team was the St. Louis Rams. At pick 30, it was a definite steal. The 31st pick belonged to the Dallas Cowboys, and Jerry Jones found a way to blow it again. Safety Matt Elam was still available and would have filled a big need. Instead, they reached for a player they could have gotten later in the draft with center Travis Frederick. Finally, the 32nd pick belonged to your Super Bowl 47 champion Baltimore Ravens. Safety Ed Reed had left to Houston, but a safety from Florida was ready to fill his shoes. Safety Matt Elam became the last pick in the first round of the 2013 NFL Draft. The Ravens and 49ers had good drafts as well, but their first round picks were very good. Both drafted safeties, coincidentally. The 49ers drafted safety Eric Reed from LSU, which should be a good pickup to replace safety Deshaun Goldson, who is now in Tampa Bay. The Ravens also picked a very good safety and Matt Elam, who will replace Ed Reed, who went to Houston this year. The second day started out great for the Jacksonville Jaguars when they selected free safety Jonathan Cyprin. Some other big names included Eddie Lacy, who came at the end of the second round to the Green Bay Packers, Darius Slay for the Detroit Lions, Manti Te'o for the San Diego Chargers, and finally, quarterback Geno Smith. Welcome to the circus, Geno. You'll need it. There were some big names on the third day, including Kenyon Barner to the Carolina Panthers and Denard Robinson to the Jacksonville Jaguars. But the two biggest names included Matt Barkley to the Philadelphia Eagles. That was a surprising pick. He went on the first pick of the third day. And finally, maybe the best story, Marcus Lattimore, running back out of South Carolina after the devastating injury. He's trying to come back from reconstructive knee surgery, and everyone's just going out for Marcus Lattimore and prayers to him. A great day for Marcus Lattimore and the whole NFL. If you needed an offensive lineman, this was a great time to draft one. Luke Joeckel, Eric Fisher, DJ Fluker, Jonathan Cooper, Chance Warmack, just so many offensive linemen to choose from. This was a great draft and probably the deepest choice for offensive linemen in the past few years. This will be a great offensive lineman class for years to come. There was some pretty good wide receivers this year, including Tavon Austin, who went to the Rams, DeAndre Hopkins, who went to the Texans, Keenan Allen, who went to the San Diego Chargers, and finally Cordell Patterson, who might have been the steal of the first round, who went to the Minnesota Vikings at pick 29. In the NFL, we all know that this definitely wasn't the year of the quarterback, with E.J. Manuel being the only quarterback selected in the first round of this year's NFL Draft. But Geno Smith to the Jets could be an interesting selection, with Mark Sanchez looming to be cut. Also, Mike Glennon could be the steal of this year's NFL Draft. He's with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and could replace Josh Freeman in the next few years. There are a lot of boomer bust players, but a big example is the linebacker Manti Te'o for the San Diego Chargers. Manti Te'o struggled late in the season, especially in the national championship game in college, but he can be a very effective linebacker in the NFL. And another boomer bust player would be Minnesota wide receiver Cordell Patterson. Now, Cordell Patterson is a raw talent, but with Christian Ponder as quarterback, he'll need all the help he can get. I think Cordell Patterson will be a Julio Jones type of player, or maybe even a Roddy White from Atlanta. And so, if he can reach that potential, he'll be a very good player in the NFL for years to come.